All right, get ready, because we're really going to dig into Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits today.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one.
It is, right? I mean, everyone wants to know the secrets to success,
Hmm.
and this book claims to lay them all out there.
Well, and it's not just some vague self-help stuff.
Right.
Graziosi is all about those practical strategies, the things you can actually do to make a change.
Exactly. And the way he structures the whole book is really interesting.
It is?
He doesn't just focus on the think positive stuff, which, let's be honest, can get a little tiring.
Yeah.
He blends that with concrete action steps.
It's a good combination.
It is, and I think that's what makes it so appealing to people, right?
Yeah.
You get the mindset work, but also the tangible things you can actually do.
It's not just theory. You're getting tools you can use, like, right away.
Right. Okay. So one of the first things that really jumped out at me was this 7 levels deep why exercise.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Have you ever tried something like that?
I have, actually. It can be really eye-opening.
It is. Because it really pushes you to figure out those core motivations, right? Like, why do you even want success?
Like, what's driving you, really?
Yeah, exactly. Because on the surface, you might say, oh, I want to make $1,000,000.
Sure. Everyone says that, right?
But why? Is it to buy a fancy car?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it something deeper, something more meaningful?
Because that surface level motivation, like wanting a big house or a sports car,
Yeah.
that's not going to keep you going when things get tough.
Absolutely.
But if you dig deeper, if you go through those 7 levels and you hit on that core emotional reason.
Like that real driving force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's going to fuel you.
That's what's going to get you through those tough times, those moments of doubt, those inevitable setbacks.
You need that strong foundation, that deep-seated why to keep you going.
And I think Graziosi gives a really great example in the book about this.
Which one?
He talks about a guy who wanted to open a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Sounds like a simple goal, right?
On the surface, yeah.
But when this guy went through the 7 levels, he realized it wasn't really about just serving food.
What was it about them?
It was about recreating the atmosphere he experienced in his grandmother's kitchen when he was growing up.
Aw, that's sweet.
It was about that sense of family, that warm, inviting feeling that he wanted to share with others.
Yeah, so it goes so much deeper than, I just want to be a chef.
Exactly. And I think that's such a powerful illustration of how this exercise can help you uncover those hidden layers of meaning.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
I love that analogy
Yeah.
because sometimes we don't even realize what's truly driving us until we really dig deep.
Right. Sometimes it's buried under all these other, I don't know, assumptions or expectations.
And once you tap into that core why, it can completely change your approach.
Oh, for sure. And that brings us to another important concept that Graziosi talks about, battling those inner demons.
Oh, yeah, the negative self-talk, the limiting beliefs.
All that stuff. He uses this classic parable of the 2 wolves. Have you heard that one?
Oh, yeah, the one where one wolf represents negativity and scarcity, and the other embodies positivity and abundance.
Exactly. And the point is, the wolf you feed is the one that wins.
Such a simple but powerful message, right?
It really is. It's a reminder that we have a choice in which thoughts and habits we nurture.
Because we're constantly bombarded with so much information, so many influences.
Especially these days with social media and everything.
Oh, for sure. So it's up to us to be mindful of what we're allowing into our minds to choose to feed that positive wolf.
And Graziosi doesn't just leave us with this metaphor. He offers some practical strategies for doing this.
Like what?
Well, one that I found particularly interesting was the 30-day news diet.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Have you ever tried that?
I have.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much calmer and more focused you feel when you're not constantly bombarded with negative news.
It's like a mental detox.
It is. But how does he tie that back to the wolves?
He's basically saying that when you're constantly consuming negative news stories, you're feeding the scarcity wolf.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You start seeing the world as this dangerous, limited place.
And that can really impact your outlook, your decisions, your whole approach to life.
It's like you're priming your brain to focus on the negative.
Which makes it harder to see those opportunities, those possibilities.
Right. But it's not about sticking your head in the sand and pretending everything is perfect.
No, definitely not.
It's about being conscious of what you're consuming and making sure you're balancing it out with positive, uplifting content.
It's like creating a healthy mental diet, just like you would with food.
Exactly. And speaking of taking control, Graziosi has this whole thing about focusing on strengths rather than weaknesses.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
He even has this bold quote, something like, "The heck with my weaknesses. I'm going to get amazing at what I'm already good at."
It's so counterintuitive, right? Because we're often told to identify our weak spots and work on improving them.
Yeah, like we should be well-rounded in everything.
But Graziosi argues that we can achieve so much more by doubling down on what we're already naturally good at.
And playing to those strengths.
Yes. It's like, if you're a terrible singer, don't try to force yourself to become an opera star.
Right.
Focus on that thing you rock at, whether it's writing, public speaking, coding, whatever.
Find your zone of genius and go all in.
And I think that's so liberating, right? Because it gives you permission to let go of those things that just aren't your forte.
And it doesn't mean you completely ignore your weaknesses.
No, definitely not.
It's more about being strategic, right? If public speaking terrifies you,
Yeah.
maybe you hire someone to handle those presentations while you focus on the behind-the-scenes stuff that you excel at.
So it's about maximizing your effectiveness by playing to your strengths.
Exactly. And one thing that Graziosi suggests is actually making a good at list.
Oh, I love that.
Just sit down and write out all the things you're good at.
It's such a simple exercise, but it can be really powerful, right?
It is. It can help you shift your focus from I'm not good at this to I excel at that.
And that can be such a confidence booster.
It reframes your whole perspective.
And it can also help you be more discerning when it comes to taking advice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because, not all advice is created equal.
Definitely not.
Graziosi has this really thought-provoking statement. He says, you can't ever take advice from people who have failed at what you want to accomplish.
Whoa, that's bold.
It is, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. If someone's giving you financial advice, but they're constantly struggling with debt.
Yeah, maybe don't take their word as gospel.
Right. It's like, would you take cooking advice from someone who always burns dinner?
Probably not.
You'd probably go to someone who's known for their delicious meals.
It's about finding those mentors, those guides, those people who have actually achieved what you aspire to.
And learning from their experience.
Because they've been there, they've done that, they've got the battle scars to prove it.
Okay, so this next part might surprise you.
Oh.
Graziosi spends a good chunk of the book talking about physical presentation.
Really? I wouldn't have expected that.
Me neither. But he tells this really interesting story about being at a cafe.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
And he notices these two people.
Okay.
One had great posture, a smile, just this air of confidence.
And the other one?
The other was slouching, frowning, and looking generally defeated.
Like a completely different vibe.
Right. And Graziosi asks, what do you assume about each of these people based solely on their appearance?
It's a really clever way to make us think about how our outward presentation impacts how others perceive us.
And maybe even more importantly, how we feel about ourselves.
It's not about being superficial.
No, definitely not.
It's about recognizing that how we carry ourselves, our facial expressions, our clothes.
It all sends signals.
Yeah, it communicates something to the world around us.
And he even talks about something as simple as smiling.
Like just putting on a happy face.
More than that, he talks about the actual science behind it, how smiling releases endorphins.
Oh, I've heard about that.
It reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, even boosts your immune system.
It's like a little cheat code for feeling better.
It is. And while we're on the topic of things that impact how we feel, Graziosi goes after that whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me thing.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't buy that, does he?
No, he makes a really compelling argument that words absolutely have power, especially the words we repeat to ourselves over and over in our own minds.
It's that negative self-talk.
Exactly. Those thoughts that we allow to take root and shape our beliefs.
Because our beliefs then shape our actions, our decisions, our whole reality.
So how do we deal with those negative words that can really stick with us?
Well, Graziosi suggests identifying those specific words or phrases that trigger you.
Oh, like those little digs that just get under your skin.
Exactly. And then consciously challenging them, asking yourself, is this actually true? What evidence do I have to support this belief?
It's about taking back control of your thoughts and not letting those negative words define you.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive, on those words and phrases that empower and uplift you.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit, because Graziosi introduces this really interesting concept that I want to talk about.
What's that?
It's the idea of battery chargers versus battery drainers.
Oh, yeah. He says there are people who energize us and lift us up, and then there are those who leave us feeling drained and exhausted.
Right. I can think of specific people who fit into each category.
Oh, me too. It's like some people just zap your energy.
And Graziosi actually learned about this concept from a mentor who had this uncanny ability.
What was it?
He could walk into a room full of people and immediately identify the battery chargers and the drainers.
Wow, that's kind of freaky.
It is. but it makes you think about the energy we give off, right?
Yeah, like what kind of vibe are we putting out there?
Exactly. And Graziosi's point is that we should be really intentional about surrounding ourselves with those battery chargers.
The people who inspire us, support us, make us feel good.
And equally important, minimizing our exposure to those energy vampires because they can really drag us down, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like they suck the life out of you.
And this ties into another one of his points about surrounding yourself with financially successful people.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Now, it's not about being a gold digger.
No, definitely not.
It's more about learning from their habits and mindset.
Like, if you want to achieve financial success, it makes sense to spend time with people who have already done it, right?
You can observe them, learn from their mistakes, get inspired by their journeys.
And it's not just about the financial stuff, it's about that whole approach to life, that drive, that ambition.
Because success leaves clues, right?
It does. Okay, so this next part is all about the power of our personal narratives, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of.
Oh, I love this
Oh,
stuff.
me too. It's so fascinating.
Because it really gets into that whole mindset piece, right?
Yeah, and Graziosi says, your story is your internal narrative. It can either hold you back or drive you to success.
So powerful. It is. It's recognizing that the stories we tell ourselves can become self-fulfilling prophecies,
Like, if you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough,
or that you'll never achieve your goal.
you're setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly. But the good news is we have the power to rewrite those narratives.
We can choose a different story.
So how do we actually go about doing that?
Well, Graziosi suggests this exercise where you identify those limiting beliefs.
Oh, like I'm not smart enough or I'm not worthy.
Yeah, those kinds of things.
And then you consciously replace them with empowering narratives.
It's like taking those old, dusty records in your mind and replacing them with new ones that support your goals and aspirations.
I love that analogy because it really is about changing the soundtrack of your life.
It is. And he shares this incredible story about a woman named Gina who completely transformed her life by changing her narrative.
Oh, tell me about her. What does she do?
She went from feeling stuck and unfulfilled to running a successful business and feeling empowered in all areas of her life.
Stories like that really show you the power of mindset, don't they? It's like, if she can do it, why not me? And speaking of taking action, Graziosi talks about this cool tool for making decisions and overcoming fear. He calls it the DOS conversation.
It stands for dangers, opportunities, and strengths. And it's a way to look at any situation in a more balanced way. It's so easy to get caught up in either the fear of the unknown or the excitement of the potential, but this framework helps you see both sides.
So let's say you're thinking about starting a business, but you're also terrified of failing. How would you apply the DOS conversation to that?
Well, first, you'd list out all the potential dangers, things like financial risk, the time commitment, the possibility of not making any sales. You're not shying away from those fears, you're acknowledging them.
Okay, so you face those fears head on. Then what?
Then you shift gears and brainstorm all the potential opportunities. Things like being your own boss, having more flexibility, creating something you're passionate about, and potentially making a lot of money.
So you're balancing out those risks with the potential rewards. But how do your strengths come into play?
That's the final piece of the puzzle. You assess your strengths, the skills, experiences, and qualities you possess that could help you succeed in this business venture. Maybe you're a marketing whiz, a natural salesperson, or super organized. By recognizing those strengths, you gain confidence in your ability to tackle those dangers and seize those opportunities.
I like how this framework encourages you to take action, but in an informed way, right?
Yeah.
You're not just blindly jumping into something without considering the potential pitfalls. Now, once you've made that decision, how do you actually get people on board with your vision? That's where Graziosi's ideas about attraction and persuasion come in.
He's really big on this idea that attraction is like marketing. It's about putting yourself out there in a way that attracts what you want and repels what you don't.
So it's not about being someone you're not. It's about being authentically you and attracting the people and opportunities that align with your values.
Exactly. And then there's persuasion, which he compares to sales. It's about getting people emotionally invested in your ideas and taking action.
He even says, people will learn from you, listen to you, love you, buy from you, and hire you when they feel understood, not when they understand you. That's deep, right?
It really highlights the importance of connecting with people on an emotional level. It's not just about logic and facts, it's about tapping into people's emotions and motivations.
He gives this great example of how to use this in negotiations. He suggests asking a future-focused question like, let's pretend it's a year from now. Can you describe the past year to me?
It's brilliant because it gets people to visualize the positive outcomes of working with you or investing in your idea.
It's like painting a picture of that desired future state, which can be incredibly persuasive. Now, here's where it gets a little counterintuitive. Graziosi says, by being honest, transparent, and a man of your word, you're going to get taken advantage of. But then he follows that up with, but yeah, you'll gain much more by attracting the right people.
It's a bold statement, right? He's basically saying that by being authentic and true to yourself, you might encounter some people who try to exploit your good nature, but in the long run, that authenticity will attract the right people, those who value integrity and honesty.
So it's a trade-off. You might get burned a few times, but ultimately you'll build stronger, more meaningful relationships with people who share your values. And this ties into that whole scarcity versus abundance mindset, right?
Absolutely. Graziosi is a big believer in the power of an abundance mindset, the belief that there's enough for everyone. He argues that scarcity thinking, the belief that there's a limited pie and you have to fight for your slice, can hold you back in so many ways.
It's like that saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. If you're constantly operating from a place of scarcity and fear, you're likely to attract more of the same. But if you cultivate an abundance mindset, you open yourself up to more opportunities and possibilities.
And he makes this interesting point about how it affects our buying decisions. He says, people most often buy what they want, not what they need. Think about it. How many times have you bought something you didn't really need but just really, really wanted?
Oh, all the time. Especially those late-night online shopping sprees.
Yeah.
But what's the takeaway for someone who's trying to, say, sell a product or service?
Graziosi's point is that you need to understand what people desire and cater to those desires. It's not just about selling features and benefits, it's about tapping into those emotional drivers that make people want to buy. And one of the most effective ways to do that is through storytelling.
He's a master storyteller himself. He uses anecdotes and personal experiences throughout the book to make his points more relatable and memorable.
It's like instead of just saying honesty is important, he tells a story about a time when his honesty cost him a deal, but ultimately earned him the respect of his clients. That story makes the concept much more impactful and memorable.
It's like those Aesop's fables we read as kids. The stories make the lessons stick.
Now, are you ready for another one of Graziosi's secret success habits? This one really intrigued me.
Lay on me.
It's about managing people's feelings after they say yes. He calls it camping out in the minds of others.
It sounds a little creepy when you put it like that.
I know, right? But it's actually not about manipulation or mind control. He shares this quote from John Paul DeJoria, the billionaire entrepreneur behind Paul Mitchell Hair Products and Payfin Tequila.
Oh yeah, he's the guy with the awesome long hair. What does he have to say about camping out?
DeJoria says, I'm not in the selling business, I'm in the reselling business. I want to make people happy so they continue to buy and buy again.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's about building that long-term loyalty and exceeding expectations so people keep coming back for more. Exactly. And the camping out analogy is about continuously understanding the needs, fears, and desires of your customers, clients, or even your loved ones. It's about going above and beyond to make sure they're happy and satisfied, even after the initial sale or interaction is over.
So how do you actually camp out
He
effectively?
gives some practical tips like sending surveys, asking specific questions to really understand what people are thinking and feeling, and offering unexpected rewards or gestures of appreciation.
It's like you're setting up a little mental campsite in their minds and making sure they feel comfortable and cared for.
Now, I love that Graziosi devotes a whole chapter to happiness. He makes the point that happiness isn't just the result of success, it's a key ingredient. He even calls it the ultimate competitive advantage.
That's interesting. He's basically saying that happy people are more productive, creative, and resilient, which ultimately leads to greater success in all areas of life.
He even lays out these 10 happiness habits. They're all about cultivating a positive mindset and living in the present moment.
I'm curious, what are some of those habits?
Okay, here are a few that stood out to me. Define what happiness looks and feels like to you. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Make the present moment your friend. Don't get caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. Stop overthinking. Sometimes you just need to take action and trust the process. And finally, be part of something bigger than yourself, whether it's volunteering, connecting with your community, or pursuing a cause you're passionate about.
Those are great. It seems like a lot of these habits are about shifting your perspective and focusing on the things you can control.
And it's not just about thinking happy thoughts. He also emphasizes taking action. He suggests taking creative time daily to do something you enjoy, whether it's painting, writing, playing music, or just spending time in nature.
It's about nurturing your soul and preventing burnout.
He also talks about expressing gratitude. He even suggests setting gratitude alarms throughout the day to remind yourself to appreciate the good things in your life.
And he suggests randomly spoiling yourself and stashing away cash to create little moments of joy and abundance. It's like injecting little doses of happiness into your daily routine.
Now, before we wrap up this part, Graziosi throws in a ton of additional practical tips for success and happiness. Things like finding the good in every situation, hiring people who have already achieved what you want to achieve, and thinking solution, not problem.
I like that last one. It's so easy to get caught up in the problems, but shifting your focus to solutions can be incredibly empowering.
He ends the book with this thought-provoking statement. When it comes to life, we're either climbing or we're sliding. What do you make of that?
It really is a powerful image. It
Yeah.
suggests that we can't just coast through life, you know?
Right.
We're either actively moving forward, growing, learning.
Or, yeah, slipping backward.
There's no real neutral ground. It's a call to action,
It is to be intentional about the choices we make and to always be striving for improvement.
to keep climbing that mountain.
I like that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into millionaire success habits, what are some of the key takeaways you think will be most valuable for our listeners?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me is that understanding your why,
Oh, yeah.
it's so crucial.
It is. It's not enough to just want success. You have to really dig deep and uncover those core
Any
motivations.
things that will fuel you when you hit those inevitable roadblocks.
And once you have that strong why figured out, it's all about taking action.
Absolutely. And Graziosi doesn't just leave you hanging.
No, he gives you a ton of practical strategies.
From that 7 levels deep why exercise
Yeah.
to the DOS conversation framework.
He's all about giving you tools you can use.
Not just telling you to think positive, but showing you how to actually make those changes.
Another big takeaway for me is the power of mindset.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Cultivating that abundance mindset, challenging those limiting beliefs, surrounding yourself with the right people.
It can really make all the difference.
And I love that he doesn't just focus on financial success.
Right, he brings in that happiness element, too.
He dedicates a whole chapter to it.
Hmm.
He argues that happiness isn't just a byproduct of success, but a key ingredient.
The ultimate competitive advantage, he called it.
I like that.
Hmm.
So, thinking about all of this, what does it mean for you, the listener? We've explored so many insights from this book.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but the real value comes from applying it, right?
Taking what resonates with you and making it your own.
What are you going to do differently? What actions are you going to take?
Graziosi focuses on financial success, but you can apply these principles to any area of your life.
Exactly.
What are your goals? What are your dreams?
What are those unique millionaire habits that will help you create the life you want?
I encourage you to go back through the book, highlight the parts that speak to you, and start implementing those ideas today.
Because success is a journey, not a destination.
And it's a journey we can all choose to embark on.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits.
It's been fun.
It has. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a new book, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned.